I have a lot of things to say, so I'm going to make it really quick. First, I just want to address the community. As far as reminding ourselves that this is nothing new, that we've been dealing with this border since 1848 with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, and knowing that we were never a part of that conversation, and it's still continuing. We're still feeling the impacts of that decision, and so it's important to know that this is a long history. And by now, we should have a better idea of how to deal with it. From our own research, I've also looked into, there are resources out there to educate ourselves on what our rights are and what the history is. And I'd like to encourage you to look at specifically the Southwest Border Strategy, which was initiated in 1992. That was a really big initiative that actually funneled traffic intentionally through our area by cracking down in traditional crossing cities like Juarez and Tijuana. Those were traditional crossing areas. And so what they did was crack down in those areas, and all of that was funneled through here. And I was a baby around that time, but for the older folks, I think you can remember that that's pretty much the timeline of when we started to see this increase in changes. I also just want to state that as for the young people here and the young people who aren't here, we do have a lot of concerns, especially those who are my age. I'm 28, and we feel like we're the last generation to really know what it feels like to be free or to move freely on and off the nation. Because anyone that's younger than us, the kids, now they don't have that mentality, that freedom to move. And I've seen it in my own nieces and my own family, the kids, the emotions or the different things that they feel when they go through a checkpoint, even though they're innocent in all aspects, being children. And also, and talking to different elders about this situation, we need to remind ourselves that, yeah, there's a difference between people who are traveling and the people who are actually committing crimes. As far as the drug smuggling, and he wanted me to remind everybody that, as Don Autumn, us living here in the desert, we're survivors, and we have that survivor mentality. So any help that's going out to migrants is just a part of that. It's a human right. It's a human belief to help each other survive. And as far as we have a lot of questions, but I don't see us looking towards our own selves for the answers that we need, especially towards our own leaders and this question of sovereignty. So I do have some specific questions. I have 6 questions, and number 1 is can you please explain the differences between reasonable suspicion and probable cause, and how that affects a decision that an agent makes, because it has a lot to do with what some of these people are dealing with. And then also, can you explain if this is still in effect, the Constitution Free or Constitution Light Zone 100 miles in from the border, and how that affects us if it's still relevant. And also, I think this question would be more directed to our legislative representatives. How does the nation keep logs of incidents? And also to the districts, like, are there logs? And also, are there logs of these forums and all the names of those people and who's following up with them? Because the last we knew, the liaison as far as from executive office was Inez Ballisto. Is that still in place? And then also, this question kind of relates to that, is how is the nation protecting or advocating on behalf of the people, on behalf of the Haudenosaunee? Are there advocates available to help people understand what their rights are? I think we have all of the resources. I think the police department and legislative council has those resources to put that kind of presentation together to present to the people. And also number 5, Are there any resources being made available to the shadow wolves? I know the shadow wolves are under ice. I support the shadow wolves. I think they do their job and they always do it in a respectful manner. And I really see them as a resource as far as here because of the beliefs that they work on and how they do their work. And also, is there or was there any kind of religious freedom for well, actually, I guess I would just share a little story. Is that I was talking to Father Panchi, and he was concerned about how they're not allowed to cross the border to attend burials or to do masses or to go to the different feasts. So he said they used to be able to, but they are not anymore. So that was one of his concerns. And then also just a little homework for people that are listening. Like I said, there's a lot of resources to look at, and specifically I want to put these resolutions out there because I think they hold a lot of power. Resolution 07-120, which is basically an understanding and agreement between the nation and Border Patrol. There's 9 of them. Resolution 98-063, which is the recognition and right to pass and travel freely. Resolution 04-470, which is, I think, an example of how we can empower our community. It was the Vomri community from Chukaguk who banned 2 agents from their community for harassment. And also 04-469, which would be another question requesting the investigation and civil rights violation and death of Dennet Patricio. Where does that stand? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Juan.
Was there a response to the questions?
As far as the question for statistics or logs for, I'm going to say border-related incidents, at TOPD we do have classifications when we're dealing with border-related incidents that we log on only when they're reported in and called for service. That's how we keep track of calls for service for border-related incidents, and that way we share it with everybody else within the nation, whether it's executive or legislative. And then as far as the definition between reasonable suspicion and probable cause, you want tribal police version or you want Border Patrol's version?
Both,
I'm sorry.
please. Both, please.
Okay, both. Okay.
actually, when you deal with criminal activity, stopping people or interviewing people, obviously if something occurs right in front of you, you're going to have probable cause to take an action under your authorities. Reasonable suspicion is initially started by mere suspicion, and you look at all the circumstances surrounding what you're looking at in the incident, and see if there is or is not probable cause. So you go through all of the processes of saying, well, say you have a vehicle come through the checkpoint, and you ask the individual for their citizenship, and they can't, they won't answer, they won't look at you, or they speak in a language that you just don't understand, and you have a reasonable suspicion that what you're looking at might not be a United States citizen. So at the checkpoint, constitutionally, we have a right to, and statutorily, we have a right to perform immigration checks. So then you go around and you look at all the pieces of evidence that you can collect, and if probable cause exists, then you can detain and arrest. If you cannot get to probable cause, then you release. If all of the circumstances do not add up to, all the mere suspicion does not build up to probable cause, then you have to release the individual.
And now, as far as tribal law enforcement, regarding to border-related stuff, I'm not trained in border-related stuff other than, you know, upholding tribal law and then also dealing with state law if it deals with a non-Alcom member. So that's why I asked the question, not to pass the buck, should I say, but just trying to get a clear indication when dealing with just crime itself or something border-related. Okay, as far as crime itself, same thing with reasonable suspicion. If we have, you know, signs and symptoms of a certain crime that we think that had taken place or is taking or about to take place, we can take that investigation a little bit further by the reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion, whether we have to physically detain somebody or just separate somebody and just continue the questioning, and then from that information, with all the information gathered, then we build up our probable cause, whether if we felt that there had been a crime committed, then we will take action. But that's just in crime in general. But as far as border related, I'm not familiar with Border Patrol, or as far as the federal law that they uphold, as far as looking for undocumented aliens or anybody, you know, riding at a checkpoint. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, and it brings up, you know, that you should be, as a collaborating organization, as a law enforcement, that you should understand the rights that each organization has, or just the policies, or whatever's in place.
Okay, and a lot of times when we do assist Border Patrol, you know, for whatever reason they're detaining somebody, and TOPD gets there, whether if you, as community, call them yourselves during the incident, or if Border Patrol calls us to assist, we always, when we respond, we always find the facts from what's going on, with the totality of the whole circumstances. Okay, so that's how we figure out whether, if it's something that they wanna investigate further, you know, we're gonna stand by and just be safety and cover, you know, be as a cover officer to make sure everybody's safe all around, including whoever they detain at that time, you know. And if they believe someone's committing a border-related crime, such as harboring or what have you, and then of course, again, we're gonna be just there for security. And if they decide they have not only reasonable suspicion but probable cause to affect the arrest, then again, we're there for security for them, and that's going to be taken over by their investigation and not TOPD's. I'm sorry, did that answer your question? Because it's real broad.
It does, because a lot of times why people call TOPD is because they want your protection.
responses from Border Patrol. Again, it's open for you all that have made comments today to personally talk to the sector agents in the concerns that you have brought forward. It's really good to talk one-on-one as well to get your answer with the agents. Next we have is Tina Ravages, and then after